The first conditional. The first conditional is a grammatical structure which you use to refer to the future. And usually you have a conditioning part of the sentence if something happens. And the second part is the conditioned part. I shall talk to him. So if he comes, I shall or I will talk to him. The conditioning part of the sentence is the one which contains if he comes, and the conditioned part is usually expressed in the future time, I will talk to him. Please observe that the part which follows the word if is given in the present tense, not future tense. Okay? So we will go for a walk this afternoon if it doesn't rain. If it doesn't rain. If plus present tense, although you refer to the future. And would it be correct to say something like, we will go for a walk if it will not rain? Well, I don't think any native speakers of English would say that, perhaps except for some poetic use. Normally, will is a synonym of the German borrowing. It's want. It's like German will. Ich will etwas machen. I want to do something. So you may say that about humans. For example, I will talk to him if he comes, or I will talk to him if he will come. Now these two have different meanings. I will talk to him if he comes, the present tense after if, this is the normally used structure. So if the fact of him coming comes to pass, if it does occur, if it does happen, right? But when I say if he will come, then will in this case doesn't mean future tense, because you don't use future after will. In this case, will means want, be willing to. You are referring to somebody's volition. I will talk to him if he wants to come, if he does want to come, if he is willing to come. Observe, this is present tense, if he is willing to come. So if he comes, if he will come, will, the synonym of want to, be willing to, if he will come, if he does want to come. And normally you don't use will in this context for inanimate objects or weather. For example, we will not go for a walk if it rains, if there is rain. It would be incorrect to say if it will rain. Why? Because rain doesn't have a will, doesn't have volition. A rain doesn't want things or doesn't want to carry out some action. So if it rains is the only possible option. You can't say if it wants to rain or if it is willing to rain, if it will rain. That's incorrect about weather, about inanimate objects. But you can use the modal verb will, like I have said, when you mean to want to do something. Apart from using the word if, you can also use the word when, like for time clauses. When I am 65, I will not work anymore. I hope so, it will be possible. When I am 65, I will not work anymore. Now, after when, I used the present tense after when. When I am, it would be a mistake to say when I will be 65. That's incorrect. Because if you said when I will be 65, it would mean something like if I am willing to live to be 65. If I do want to live to be 65. If I will, meaning if I want to. People don't usually want to express this kind of meaning. Again, poets will come up with anything, so I can't say that this is impossible, but normally it will not be understood as something acceptable. So after if, after when, in such a kind of clauses, you use the present tense, which is the conditioning sentence. And in the second part, you use the future time. When I am 65, I will not work anymore. And a few other expressions after which you use the present tense, although you refer to the future. As soon as, I will call you as soon as I arrive. Not as soon as I will arrive, but as soon as I arrive. Okay, so present tense after as soon as. Also present tense after until. You will wait here for me until I come back. Not until I will come back, but until I come back. Wait for me until I come back. Unless. Unless means if not. Okay, so I will not help you unless you are ready. Unless you are, unless meaning if not, unless you are ready. Now, two common mistakes after unless. The first one involves using the modal will. So, unless you will be ready. That's theoretically possible in the sense of unless you are willing to be ready. But normally after unless you don't use the modal will. And the second most common mistake is using the negative particle not after unless, because unless itself is negative, so don't use another negative after unless. Don't say unless he isn't willing, but say unless he is willing. So these are the expressions similar to the first conditional structure. And to summarize, you have got the conditioning sentence, which involves the present tense. If he comes, when he comes, as soon as he comes, right, until he comes. And the second sentence, which is the conditioned sentence, which is used in the future time. I will do it, we will talk, we won't go for a walk.